Hi everyone, HELEVORN here. Tonight I'm with my friend and fellow writer Fortunus, and we are going to do something special. Usually on Dr. Metalhead, we are discussing lyrics to rock or metal songs in the form of an essay. But because one of the bands that I have analyzed a lot recently, namely the Italian rock band Måneskin, have released a new song, we have decided to do a first impression of the song. So I have not listened to it before, and I'm really excited to listen to it with you, Fortunus, and with everybody who's watching.
Absolutely. I'm very excited too, especially since this song is very new. It came out yesterday.
That's true. I've only seen some promotional photos on Instagram, and I have sort of an idea about what the song will be about or what the style is, because it reminds me of something like Mamma Mia in terms of sound, but we're going to listen and see what it is about.
All right, let's start.
Alone at parties in a deadly silhouette. She loves the cocaine don't lock her back. When she's upset, she talks to Maury and takes deep breaths. She's a 90s supermodel. Way back in high school when she was a good Christian. I used to know her, but she's got a new best friend. A drag queen named the Virgin Mary takes confession. She's a 90s supermodel.
All right, so that's the end of the first verse. And I think right off the bat, we've noticed that, it's injected with a lot of humor.
Yeah, that's true. It's we don't definitely don't get the vibes of something like Coralino or Torna Casa, and it's very different. And also in terms of sound, it sounds kind of pop. But in terms of lyrics, we see that a 90s supermodel. I think it's about someone who's living that life and living the moment and everything that fame is bringing her.
Yes, absolutely. But unfortunately, even though she loves the cocaine, which is, something that a lot of people in Hollywood and in the entertainment industry take, cocaine doesn't love her back. So, there is a cost to, in a way, selling out your soul to the entertainment industry. You are getting famous, but, part of you is also dying as well. Because it says when she's upset, she talks to Maury and takes deep breaths. So Maury is an American, I think, what is it called, a reality show host in the 90s and
Mhm.
2000s. And I guess a lot of people with problems go on his show and talk to him about things.
Oh, I see. Thank you for clarifying this because I had no idea what the reference was. Okay, so this is about sacrifices that she has made in order to get to fame, and all the pressures from the music industry that she now has to face, and she has to live up to expectations every single moment, and this has taken a toll on her.
Absolutely. And it's also interesting that he says that back in high school when she was a good Christian. So there's been a huge shift, right? Before she became famous, she was, a good Christian who wouldn't do these things, be on cocaine and go on reality talk shows and do other things. But now, she has embraced the LA celebrity lifestyle of drugs, fame, sex, and all these other things that she wouldn't have done back as a teenager.
So in a way, she has sold her soul to fame, right?
Right. And he also says a drag queen named the Virgin Mary that takes confessions. So, she's a different kind of Christian now. Her new religion is pop culture and, the entertainment industry. It's no longer, that kind of religion she followed as a teenager, the traditional kind of religion.
And there is a huge contrast between the way she was before she got into the music industry and the way she is now. She
So
has
let's
become
continue.
the her persona.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a master. My compliments. If you want a Lola, just give me that. She'll never love you more than money and cigarettes. Every night's a heartbreak. Hey, don't think about it. Hey, just let it go. 'Cause her boyfriend is a rock and roll. Savor every moment till she has to go. 'Cause her boyfriend is a rock and roll.
So I think there are some similarities with the character of Marlena in a recent song you've analyzed, I think.
That's true. That's true. And definitely now we have the rock and roll reference. So even though she's a supermodel, not a musician, we see why she's presented as living this wild life of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, which is actually quite representative to the 90s and earlier in the 80s, which was a very, very wild time for performance, which I think a lot of things were accepted that were customary among VIPs that they could not get away with right now. So now with the cancel culture, I think that a lot of the people back in the 80s and 90s would totally get canceled. So she's living the wildlife with the cocaine, and she is living the moment while she still can, right? So she wants to make the most of it because she doesn't know how long she will be up there. So this is why she is living life in the fast lane.
Mm-hmm. And I did say she was a little bit like Marlena in the sense that she will never love you back in a way. It's almost like this kind of distant figure. And I think that kind of represents how, she's kind of removed herself from who she was previously. And, in a way, she's kind of a husk because she doesn't love you more than money and cigarettes. And every night's a heartbreak. And maybe it's because she's so dedicated to this lifestyle, her boyfriend is the rock and roll. So, this is the kind of lifestyle she has embraced, and she doesn't really care about what people around her think or people from her past think.
Exactly. She's very goal oriented and she doesn't care about anyone else but herself and to be up there where she belongs.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's continue.
She's working around the clock when you're not looking. She's stealing your bossy yacht. Low-waisted pants on OnlyFans. I can pay for that. She's a 90s supermodel.
So that's verse 2. And, they're talking about OnlyFans, which is interesting because that's a modern reference, not a 90s reference. So maybe her being a 90s supermodel isn't literal. It's just saying that she's like those people from the 90s, but she is modern.
Yeah, that's very true, and this really ties in with this nostalgia for the last decades of the last millennium, right? Because Måneskin has a lot of that, and they are appealing to audiences who are young but having this nostalgia, and also audiences who actually lived those times and are longing to have them back. And I think this is why the character, right, this supermodel, is also having this nostalgia of those wild 90s times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess when he's saying you, is he talking about all those people in Hollywood and LA and the entertainment industry who are, kind of like, getting canceled for sexual abuse, maybe?
Oh, I see. Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah, because, you look a bit like her dad. So it's these old exploitative people, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And every night's a heartbreak. This suggests how all these people are trying to get close to her, but she's so dedicated. Everything is about work to her. Everything is about her image and about her goals. Even when she is at parties, right? She is working, and she is heartless, right? Because she doesn't care about anyone else, no matter how hard try to get close to her emotionally.
Mm-hmm. Right. All right, that's the end.
That was quite short, and it was a bit different from what I was expecting, because I was expecting something more on the rock side than it actually was.
Yeah, there wasn't that much rock except for maybe some of the riffs in the background and the electronic sound, but generally, especially the lyrics and the mood, this feels very, very pop.
That's true. What did you think about it compared to other Måneskin songs we've discussed so far on this channel?
I think the lyrics are very different. It seems very humorous in a way. And I haven't read into depth, but it seems like this was created when they were in LA and, with the direction of a lot of American producers. And I think that really reflects in the themes and the sound of this song. It feels very early 2010s, actually, kind of like Katy Perry, all these like, Southern Californian artists. It just has that kind of feel. It feels very LA. So I can see why, it was produced in LA.
Right, you're correct. It really was, and there is definitely a great difference from their previous songs, and especially their songs in Italians. Of course, in terms of lyrics, there is a subtext of tragedy in the story of the supermodel, and there are some similarities, like you mentioned, to their previous songs. The figure of the muse and the representation of fame and art, creativity and art, but other than that, yes, the sound is very, very different. I mean, sure, I it's it's far from my favorite songs because I love something that's a lot more heavy than this, but from someone who wrote Coraline and Torna a Casa, those people really get a green pass from me. So as long as they keep making that kind of music as well, and as long as we will get another Coraline in the future, it's okay. They can make pop songs. I don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, I think they need this to appeal to more audiences, so it could just be a marketing thing.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And okay, well, we'll see how it goes in the future. And I really hope this is not the new recipe. Although from what I heard from their recent live performances, they are not well, leaving the heaviness behind. On the contrary, because in the beginning of their career, I saw that they had a lot of funky songs, and they said it was the pressure of the music industry, because people were telling them you will not get far with rock music because it's not popular. It hasn't been in the mainstream since the 80s, so you cannot really get anywhere. So they started with those funky songs, and now they saw that they are getting somewhere with rock music. So I hope they will make more.
Right. Was Mamma Mia kind of similar to this one in terms of sound and lyrics?
I think it is, but then the video is very, very bloody, and which, put it back into the rock category, even though in sound it wasn't really heavy at all. But yes, I've actually heard people watching the video and saying, they are Satanists. Look, they are using blood. They have blood all over them. This is about murder and worshiping Satan. So it's like, oh yes, this is my type of music. I was worried that I was, going a lot into mainstream music by being a Måneskin fan. But when I hear people calling them Satanists, I'm like, okay, I still got it.
Well, a lot of people actually don't like a lot of rock musicians, especially older people, because a lot of them thought it was Satan's music.
That's true. It was a great satanic panic
In the 80s and
a few
90s.
decades before.
Yeah.
And not only in America, but then Europe gave the whole Norwegian and black metal scene,
that's
which was
true.
really crazy. So I guess in the 90s, it was even crazier in Europe than it was in America. But then in America, of course, we had those, wild Woodstock performances, like the Limp Bizkit one, where there were tons of rapes and other acts of violence during their shows. So this this is what I was saying, that if those things from the 90s happen nowadays, those bands would be so canceled. So things are so much milder today in terms of rock music. And not only rock music, everything else, rap and everything else,
Well,
everything
that's
is so
true
much
about rap
milder.
too.
Yeah.
Rap is just a sound now, right? I think before in
Yeah.
the 90s, it was mostly about talking about these social issues, but now it's depoliticized for the most part.
I think so, yes. It was so powerful. Of course, I have not really listened to rap a lot. When I do listen to it, is those Tupac from back from the 90s, but that there is a great difference from what we hear in the mainstream from rap music. So yeah, I guess everything was I guess it had more of a punch back then. People are so cautious right now with everything they do.
Yeah, and also because of the internet too, right? I mean, the
Mhm.
thing you told me just now that I never knew about was that, some rock concerts had, the sexual assault happening. I don't think, they would instantly get canceled and arrested today because people have phones now. They would get filmed, people would, dox them on Twitter, and they would just instantly be canceled and arrested.
Exactly, because of course it wasn't the fault of Limp Bizkit who was on stage, but even back then there were voices saying like, "Didn't you see that this was happening? In your audience, why didn't you say anything?" I'm very sure that they had no idea. It was a huge audience, but either way, they would still be canceled nowadays. It would still be seen as their fault, and they are instigating people to this kind of violence. So
Hmm. Yeah, I mean,
not to mention the black metal scene in Europe. I mean, Europe
that's
was
true.
always so much more brutal, with people actually cutting themselves on stage. Of course, that was really underground, not the type of large audiences that Limp Bizkit was gathering, but it was, those uh, dark clubs in Norway. But still, these things were taking place, and back then, so wild stuff.
Yeah, definitely. It's been quite a change.
Yes, yes, it is. Well, this was a really fun watch, and I'm glad to have seen this for the first time with you and with everybody else. Thank you for watching, and thank you, Fortunus, for joining.